What is up, guys, and welcome to episode 2 of the Nexus Podcast. Today, we are going to talk about the new lore set, and we're going to ask the question, is it worth it? Hope everyone's doing well. It's been a good week of practicing and deck building. Harry, how's your week been? You went to locals at the weekend, I believe. You made a special appearance.
Yes, I think it's the third locals I've been to. Went to Play Nation in Croydon, Kieran's Ends. Got to be a lovely guest. His wonderful hospitality, beating me in the last round, as you do, getting winners Black Lance.
He's got to defend his home turf, though.
Exactly. Yeah. I couldn't show up and embarrass him in his own end. So, no, it was good. I think everyone was testing out, different things. None of our builds were like normal, or Kieran was playing white to understand it better in terms of what it's capable of.
Oh, look at that!
How dare you?
The proof is in the pudding, right there.
Yeah.
What about you? What about you, Emmy?
The winner.
You went to a locals as well, right?
Yeah, I was just saying, Kieran has Croydon armor. Like, I've never managed to beat him in the finals. Even one time, we ran local twice. We got into final twice, and he beat me twice.
Undefeated at Croydon locals. It's an insane win rate.
On Croydon Grand Open.
Honestly, I feel the same when I'm playing Dragon Ball at my locals. I've got to do everything to win. Keep that winning streak going. Feels bad to lose. It feels even worse to lose when you win that much as well. I'm sure Kieran can attest. But
especially to some like random person that comes in to your locals once.
Yeah, it just takes it down. Yeah, that'll be me one day. I'll come in with white aggro and just top deck 4 Valkyrie mists.
He's the gym boss from Pokemon, You go to the gym. Right, and you need to be unfortunately, I missed Saturday, but I went Sunday. I went to my locals at Dark Sphere. I was with Carlo, Ryan, and Abdul. A smaller crowd, but still
good set of players, though.
Yeah, we had a good time. Started practicing with the lore set. Quite some fun combos. I managed to combo Ryan with the Manaka and the Nexus. It was really funny. But yeah, no, good times.
Very, very nice. All right, well, without further ado, we're going to be getting into the box break first. We're gonna open the product, have a little review on. Hopefully, Emmy pulls something nice, and then from there, we're going to go through and discuss every card and maybe make kind of a tier list at the end of what we think is good. So, yeah. We're going to go to the box break zone. All right. So, Emmy, you want to talk us through it, and we'll sit here and lovingly gaze at your opening skills?
Sure. And maybe you guys can tell me what do you think of have you guys got one so far?
I've opened them, but I got them from Carlo, so I asked him to open them to save on postage to condense everything. Yeah. So he opened them on webcam for me, which I find just as exciting, to be honest.
I found it like the packaging is really nice. I think they learned a lot from the previous, like the Elemental Spark. It's just super nice boxing, and you get 2 packs of set 2, 2 copies of each card, each new card, and a lore book that I started reading through. Super interesting.
Yeah, I've had a little read of that as well. It's cool.
It's also cheaper than the Elemental Spark, right? Because with Elemental Spark, you got 1 of each promo. You usually have to buy it 4 times, but here you get, I think, 2 copies of each promo.
Yeah, exactly, which is huge. The Japanese stuff is always really, really good. Good quality, I find. The packaging and products. They always. The lore book. We'll talk about that a bit more in a bit. Let's open these packs up and see what you got. This is the real goods. This is what we want to see.
Packs first. So funny story. In the other lore set, I found in one pack. I found the Gundam purple Void Lord.
No way. That's amazing.
I promise you.
I got an SPR in my one, but it wasn't a Gundam. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Carlo must be fuming.
Yeah, I told him. I wish I opened that one on the podcast, but maybe
yeah,
we'll
well, you
find
never
out.
know. Maybe you'll get another one now.
Yeah.
But
That'd be
amazing
insane.
pull. You instantly covered your expenses there. So, Form
Form
Prison.
Prison. Nice.
I
Yeah.
love it. And the fog. And Horn Fortress.
And a Lumia
Foil. That's not too bad.
rare foil. Could be Wes. Yeah, that's insane though. The pull rates are obviously good then, because like I said, I pulled an SPR from mine. So
Yeah.
do you know what I mean? There must be a lot of SPRs out there.
I couldn't believe it, honestly. But it was the same with the core set, I think. The core set has an amazing...
Yeah, it did. It really did. I pulled so many good cards from that. Oh, will he pull anything good?
Okay, and Strike Back and a Yatta Gloss.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I think you got all your luck when you pulled a Gundam in the last box, to be fair.
Fair enough. I actually put it here. Let me...
Yeah, let's have a look. Let's get some card porn on the go. Ooh. I actually pulled that from one of my judge boxes as well.
It's so
That fella looks so nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beauty.
I saw you pulling it, and I saw you actually missing it. Like, you put it with the tokens, didn't you?
I can't remember. I'm pretty sure with my other SPR Form Prison that I did. But no, let's have a look at close up of these cards then, and maybe you can give a little review of what you think of the quality of them, because they actually have a bit of texture on the border, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah, so let's start maybe from the main characters, which would be the 6 Aegis Emperor K. So in the lore book, it starts talking about her time as a, I guess, like red flame Aegis Emperor in the Dark Ages.
Were they tasked with guarding the stones, the cores?
I don't believe that was the main. I haven't read the whole thing. So she was a diplomat of the Red Realm in the Purple Realm, which I think it was like Death Ages. We have it here. We can double check. So she was like an ambassador, pretty much, and essentially there was an alliance between Red and Purple lands to kind of defend. It was kind of more like a defensive alliance. So K is a red spirit, cost 7, 3 reduction, and maybe I'll start with this one and you guys take the next ones.
Yeah, I mean we'll go through all the cards in depth after you've looked at the cards already, because I've got them to put up on screen so people can read them and stuff. Sure. If you want.
One thing I would say though, like, I don't know if you guys have seen these cards, but the borders are really nice.
Yeah, they're kind of embossed, right, in gold. Like the pattern is. It
feels like a different, completely different card.
It looks kind of like Mayan hieroglyphics, to be honest. That looks what it's like. That's the kind of look it's inspired by. So I actually created some artwork using that style at one point.
Awesome.
It's fun to research, actually. But yeah, that they're definitely using like Mayan kind of hieroglyphs, which is a nice touch for sure.
Super good. So maybe what we can do, we can look at the card, and each one of us can just quickly say like quick thoughts and if it's good or not.
Can we do that on the other screen just when we got it in high def, because the quality isn't like.
Sure.
So obviously you can edit out this a little bit, but if you just go through the cards, like go through the product one by one and get a close view, talk about the cards like you were the lore side of it, and then we'll go into the main sort of podcast room to actually discuss the cards.
Sure. Next up, we have Imperator Manaka. So Manaka was essentially fighting with Kay, and he's regarded as the Godslayer. So apparently he killed 5 out of the 6 Void Lords.
MVP.
It's funny because, like, in the lore book, it says that one of them was killed by Lord Dragon, but in reality, they should like give the kill to Manaka. It was the controversies as well on the lore set. So Manaka is a purple spirit, and essentially it rose to fame because he was killing all the Void Lords. And actually, I believe his like master or like mentor was Lord Dragon, which I think is a staple card of like popping up like people that played Japanese Battle Spirit. So obviously we got 2 Lord Dragon. And then in the lore set, it talks about the fact that these 3 guys, so we have Light Aegis General Failinis, which is a good dog.
Good boy.
Ice Aegis General Al Belt 07, and Wind Aegis General Tokiwa. These 3 guys were like essentially supporting Manaka. And while I open this, maybe I'll ask a question to both, all of you actually. If you would have to go to war with 3 spirits from Battle Spirits, would they be? What would they be?
Any free spirits?
Any free spirits. You go first, Josh.
Probably go with. Probably just go with the white big guys, to be honest. I'd go with an armored dragon ship. I'd ride. That would be my, that would be my steed.
Okay.
I'd just have an elephant, and I'd have Alice as well. Alice could ride the elephant, and I'd ride the armored dragon.
That's fair enough. Harry, who would you pick?
It would be Bacillus, Infernal King, and Bython.
Bython and the boys. Let's go.
Tin Soldier in the back for when he's necessary, but
I mean,
Nice.
Tin Soldier's small, so he can just fit in your pocket, right? He's just a toy.
yeah, he doesn't even count. Chain Angel would be my 5th choice as well. That's about it.
What about you, Kieran?
Yeah, I think we'll go Prince Pentan for some authority. We'll go Fortune Teller Pentan just to tell the future, and I think we'll wrap it off with Maduke. It sounds weird, but lore-wise, Maduke sounds like the most broken character in the lore, right? She's defeated Seagull, and she's pretty much fended off the purple invasion from Set 3's lore that I've seen so far. So
I'm just getting
I think
the
you can
visual.
just pick any 2 characters and Maduke. Yeah, the visuals are a little bit wacky, but
Yeah,
Prince Pentan, Fortune Teller
Maduke
Pentan,
like
Maduke.
sided by two little penguins. Like the penguins
that's
are
the
like
best
the strongest.
trait, yeah.
They're the best at wielding the magic. So they use it more than everyone else. Nonchalantly.
I mean, a name like Fortune Teller Pentan, come on, that's it's quite fearful.
I mean, the Pentans discount Godslaying, which you cast so that the Maduke loses the fight. As we'll quickly get on to with the reviews, I guess.
Oh yeah.
All right. In the meantime, I'm opening the rest of the cards. I think I read the lore up until this point, so it's really cool because Victory Oath is where Manaka and Kay fought for the first time, and then they met. So like they're telling the lore through the cards, which I think it's really nice. I haven't seen in the lore yet who this guy is, which I just want to like make it up in my mind, to be honest, because it's a dragon samurai with a pistol. So
From hot off the set of Star Wars.
yeah,
He is, yeah, Han Solo and Luke Skywalker's love child.
From
I
from
guess.
Mos
And
Eisley.
trapped in there as well. Yeah.
funny. And then we have a decent green Nexus, which we'll talk about. I actually quite enjoyed playing this. And a new favorite card,
The goat.
Godslaying.
Goat slaying.
Yeah, which is obviously referred to Manaka killing all the Void Lords.
I love how the art references that, you know.
Yeah.
That's so awesome. So were the Void Lords something that just kind of came back in the kind of present day Battle Spirits lore then?
Yeah, so they didn't even know how they came to be, apparently. Like they didn't know who revived them, and they're worried that they will come back at any point.
I'm pretty sure Majuke's on the path to get the Void Lords back, and they're in their current day lore, they're all basically trying to scheme on how to revive Seagworm.
Yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
Yeah, they have to take him down to the depths, I believe.
I wonder if there's going to be a blue Void Lord. You know, we've seen a green one in set 3.
Yeah, it will be because they reference it. So they reference the Green Void Lord, and obviously we've seen it in this set. So I'm pretty sure that's gonna come around. But
so, Emmy, would you say it's worth the purchase? How do you feel about the product?
Yeah, I think maybe we can go through the cards and say what we think about it. I think in general, I like collecting, and I think this is really well done. Like it's a product that has has a story, right? And it builds on set 2. So in set 2, we've seen the Void Lords, and we didn't really understand like why are the Void Lords in set 2 and why there's no like support. And I think like they're building up quite nicely with like this retrospective and explanation of like the lore and the world building. You get the 2 packs that have really good pull rates. So for me, it's definitely worth it. Yeah, it's a great product.
All right. Well, thanks very much for saving that and opening it up on stream. Now let's get to talking about the cards. We'll start off with 6 Aegis Emperor K. Okay, so this card says, when summoned, from your trash, select 1 spirit card of each of the following colors: purple, yellow, white, green, and blue, and return them to your hand. And then that's level 1, 2, and 3. And then when this spirit attacks on level 3, select one of your opponent's spirits with 3k or fewer BP for each of your spirits with a different coloured symbol and destroy them. So this basically, I mean, it's an interesting card because it sort of promotes multicolour play. Kieran, what do you think of this card?
It's a really fun card, as you said. Like, you know, multicolor play is something that we've seen experimented sometimes here and there. I actually think this kind of card basically shows you that the lore set is really good in combination with the Elemental Spark product, because, you know, in Elemental Spark you have all the 0 cost for different elements, which you can actually add back all 4 of the 0 drops, I believe. You've also got Smog as well, which gives you a overall cost reduction for every single color, so you can kind of combine them together. I don't know if she fits into any deck right now necessarily, but I think you can maybe build a little fun deck around her potentially.
No, yeah, I totally agree, and the artwork is really cool. She's like an elf emperor.
Yeah. My only thing I'll say is I hope Bandai kind of does more for lot cards instead of just SPRs. I think the art is so good in this game that it needs to be a bit more kind of shown off for some of the cards.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's nice to see that they're building on the basic cards already with this kind of, like I said, this Mayan hieroglyphs as the border. I think it's very creative, and it being embossed and stuff on the actual cards, it's a really solid product. Like I was pleasantly surprised just to see how good the cards were, really, and yeah, for me it was instantly worth it. But yeah, what about you, Harry? What do you think of this card? Do you think there's some interesting potential with it?
Yeah, I think it's very interesting. There are some cards that you kind of keep for the future. Like Michaela isn't that good now necessarily, but we're kind of like, well, one day it's gonna pop off. And I think this kind of falls into a similar sort of spot where maybe now, I mean, obviously the game is still quite early on. It's probably not the best spot for it, but it should, in theory, at least get better over time. In terms of evaluating it right now, I think that it's fairly underrated. Obviously, it being in red and the type of effect that it has synergizes really well with Volcanic Canyon. You can just build a deck in that sort of direction where there are a lot of splash one-offs that might be inoffensive. Like Kieran mentioned, the 0-drops of other colors. They're fairly inoffensive just to splash, especially if it's discounting other spells. Green has a lot of creatures that are inoffensive to splash, so there's definitely a deck there. It might be a consideration if you've got the time to test it out for the PT, or I guess if you're just wanting to do something different, because I don't think anyone's going to be prepared to play against this necessarily. However, I think that its flaws are quite obvious in terms of it's best when you're adding 4 or 5 things off it. Well, you can't really add 5 things off it right now anyway, so it's more than likely just going to be like 2 or 3. Is that really good enough? Is there any combination of multicolored options that are really going to justify building a whole deck around it right now? Probably not, but it's definitely one to, as Kieran said, have fun with it, try to make something work, and yeah, I think it's quite underrated in that respect, but probably isn't at the top of the competitive scene right now, for sure.
Yeah, what about you, Emmy? What do you think of this lovely looking card?
Yeah, I say also put it in the bank, and let this it's a long-term investment. Let the stonk rise. But I think like if you want to play it, there is space for, like, let's say, a 2 colors with red leading and a splash of a third one. Red being the leading, maybe purple being the secondary, and then the splash being maybe green with some cards that ramp.
Yeah, I mean, you could consider stuff like Skopal and Beldegor. Like nice defensive cards that you could cycle back using her. I think that would probably be the best targets currently if you were trying to use a combo.
I think the other cards will see Tokiwa also. It's fantastic. Obviously, it already self-cycle, but you mentioned Beldegor. It's another activator. I think there is space, and as Harry said, when you play something that is not expected, at times like it's a big part of the work in winning. So. Yeah, I'll give it a 6 for now. I don't know if we're doing scores, but I'll do scores. I'll give it a 6.
Well, I'll give it a 6 as well. What are you saying, Kieran? Harry said 7.
I'll give it a 5 right now. I don't think it's all there.
So that puts an overall score of 6. Then we can review this at the end. So we'll go to card number 2 of the set. Heroic Wyrm Lord Dragon. Now, this card is level 1, 2, and 3. This card gains Confront if you have a burst card set. Obviously, it's got the flavor text. While the spirit attacks, Confront. Your opponent must block if able. That's basically what Confront does. And then at level 3, which is actually quite a fruity effect, which we'll talk about. When your opponent activates a burst card that does not share the color with any symbol on their field, place 1 core from their life into the reserve. So essentially, if they're not playing white and they're using Ice Shield, this can actually really hurt them. So I feel like this card it definitely has a bit more weight than K. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think the guy has a place in the upcoming PT, for example? What do you think? We'll start with you, Emmy, as we finished with you before.
Yeah, I think like one thing to point out obviously is the wild dis spirits attack. So it's not during the attack step, is obviously it's only when the spirits attack.
Yeah.
But on the bright side, I think everyone's mind jumped to Ice Shield because obviously is great for that finishing blow. But also we've seen quite a few burst cards being splashed in other colors. Like I play Feral Slash now, and I don't play red. And a lot of decks play Dream Bomb. So I think it's a big threat. But the family being War Dragon and not having any affinity with anything else might mean that it doesn't find a play right now.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely part of the balance, right? If this thing was a pterosaur, it would be, or a star dragon, it would be crazy. More so if it was a pterosaur, though. Obviously. What about you, Harry? What do you think? Do you think this card's got legs? Well, it does have legs, obviously.
Harry, Killer of Dreams. No, I think this card is quite a trap. It's okay, and it's something to definitely be aware of, because obviously, not factoring it in, if you're playing against it, does leave you open to being double damaged out of nowhere. But it's so incredibly niche, and it is flawed in a few reasons. I think firstly and quite principally, white is one of the holy trinity in the game. So if you play against white, it's not doing anything in terms of its intended function to deal double damage through Ice Shield. And then even against everything else, like it's got a lot of competition in its spot. If it were like a 4-drop or a 5-drop, because 5 cores is a lot. Like it's a lot to have on a creature. It's not level 2 or higher. You need 5 cores on it. The attack has to go through. For a 7-drop with only 3 reduction, like it's very difficult. We tried it, obviously, it came out. It's fairly inoffensive in terms of being a 1-of and a 7-drop, so you can splash it into a lot of red lists quite easily. But I just always wished it was something else, and I think maybe you side it like as a side option. I think it could be very potent, just in case you're playing against matchups in which they aren't expecting it. But I mean, you're competing with Gargano, you're competing with even Andromeda in that same spot. It's like immediate impact. It does something. Pretty compared to K, which has a lot of legs. I think this is a bit mid, in my opinion.
What about you, Karen?
Yeah, I share the same general opinions as Harry. For me, one of the more awkward. This card is actually quite awkward. The first effect and second effect actually kind of clash a little bit. If you're trying to just not die and you want to burst Ice Shields, well, your guy now has Confront, so you're not going to proc that third effect really. So he built into his own kit counters himself, which is a bit wacky. And as Harry said as well, I mean, 5 cores for level 3 is a lot. And if you look at that scaling, he's really just early level heavy. 5k, 6k, and then it jumps to 11k, which is great. But again, 5 cores. I played with him as like a sideboard option, but then again, he only came in against non-white decks, really. And even then, it's like there's better sideboard cards I can be playing, like Joker, for example, to just finish off the game.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so, so
4 out of 10 is what I'll say.
4 out of 10. 4 out of 10. 5.
Yeah, 5.
I'll go.
It does have a place. It's just
I'll go
not
6 because I really like the artwork on it. But no,
well, democracy wins, Josh.
you guys are all correct. The card isn't as strong as it could be. But I mean, it's still an interesting tech that could catch people out. So you never know. All right, so on to card number 3. We're going to...
One thing I just want to quickly add about what Heroic Worm Lord Dragon is, if Smarg becomes more relevant, you're never going to proc the effect, because Smarg will count for every single color.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Boy,
I mean, there's a chance that Smaug will become a bit more relevant because Blue also has a very good Nexus in set 3, which I believe it stops you from using spells off color, so... but yeah, we'll go to card number 3, Imperator Manaka. All right, so this is a purple spirit. it's when summoned effect, level 1, 2, and 3. Select one of your opponent's Void Lord spirits and destroy it. And then level 2 and 3, when this spirit attacks, you may select one of your opponent's exhausted spirits and attack it. So that's quite a nice niche effect. And then level 3, while this spirit attacks, this spirit gains 5k BP for each War Dragon or Aegis General spirit you control. So yeah, I don't really think it has much use in like the meta game. However, I think it could be fun to make sort of theme decks if you made a kind of like a Void Lord deck versus, you know, Manaka and the boys kind of thing. It could be quite fun, and the effect of attacking your opponent's cards is cool. One thing to bear in mind with that effect is when you attack a card, it immediately becomes a blocking target. So if you attack a card using an effect like that, then if it's got when block effects, they actually automatically go into pending, which is quite an interesting ruling. But that's, I guess, how they wanted to do it. But yeah, no, I think in the overall meta game, this card is probably worse than the previous two. But I don't know. Let's see what Kieran thinks about this one.
Yeah, like you said, you know, with the whole theme deck thing, I come from TCGs where like theme decks are just massively popular, and you can build like really specific fun archetypes. I think my biggest disappointment so far is, you know, the fact they haven't really supported Void Lords, or, you know, even the rest of the War Dragons and Aegis Generals we'll get into. It's not really a proper deck, sadly, and they've just kind of put like 6 cards together and they've just said go ahead with it. But about the card itself more specifically, you know, the Void Lord thing it's niche. I mean, the card literally after this combos really well with it, but it's a very niche thing. If you ever pop it off, I mean, good for you, but then why is your opponent playing a Void Lord right now? You know?
Yeah.
That's
what I mean. Meta game, it's kind of just an irrelevant card, to be honest.
Yeah, and I mean, attacking an exhausted spirit's nice, it's cute. 6k power, I mean, I guess that's the best thing it's got going for it. The level 3 just costs too many cores, you know. We're playing purple here, we're not playing white, we're not playing green, we're not playing a ramp color, we're playing purple. And it doesn't really fit into any of the current themes of purple.
Yeah.
I don't know, 4 out of 10.
Fair enough. What about you, Harry? You see any potential in this card?
Well, I think it gets better next set, obviously, with the green Void Lord that is actually really good. So yeah, if the green Void Lord is everywhere and you're playing purple, then you probably side this to kill it. But in terms of just sort of its own value, I think, yeah, Kieran touched upon the nature of archetypes and the lack of support. Like a lot of things obviously have benefit for the War Aegis or whatever these archetypes are, Imperator, but there just isn't enough to really push them forward. And for a card like this, it kind of works in the inverse, where the lack of support for Void Lords, or the lack of quality just in terms of the cards of Void Lords in terms of set 2, makes this card less playable. I guess the only thing to evaluate really in terms of what this card does that isn't archetypal in that sense is the attacking exhausted creatures ability, which already exists in the 4-drop, which doesn't have as good stats but is cheaper. And
yeah, they got that new Viper coming out as well, which has some nice effects. The X-Rare in purple for set 3 has a similar ability.
Yeah. I think this is ultimately pretty niche, but you know, again, next set, the green 10-drop Void Lord is good, so you might side this to kill it, and I agree that it's a 4 out of 10 for that reason.
What about you, Emmy? Got many thoughts on this card?
Yeah, no, I echo the sentiment. I think the redeeming quality is that this guy is badass, like super OP, just killed every single Void Lord, so it's just play it because he's cool. And there's a world where you just play a lore fun themed deck, and you have this and the dog that we'll see that makes an opponent a Void Lord, and then you have Godslaying spell. If you play against a Void Lord deck, amazing. But competitively, especially in purple, has so many good boss monsters. Unfortunately, I don't think we'll see a lot of Manaka, so I'll probably end up on a 4 myself.
So we're going to move on to the next card now, and this is the goodest boy of all, Light Aegis General Failinis. So an appropriate name for that part of the pod. So yeah, it's only got one effect. When summoned, level 1, 2, and 3, you may select one of your spirits, and it gains Void Lord's spirit type during this turn, which is kind of relevant with Manaka that we just used. I like this card because it's well, I don't like it because it's got a when summoned. That's terrible. But the fact that it's a 2-cost Fabled Beast that can go up to 4k, not as good as Pentan. I mean, to be honest, it's very, very average. But the artwork's really nice. But yeah, what do you think, Emmy? Do you think this card has any sort of anything going for it?
To me, I'm stuck on the flavor text. It says it's money that makes the world go around. My master, which I think is Manaka, can beat anyone in a fight, sure, but they just don't get that. Like, why is a dog so worried about money? I don't understand. I think that's the most important part of this card. It's a 2-cost. It's a Fable Beast. The when summon is not extremely relevant. I don't think.
He's a worker dog, right? He's got that barrel around his neck.
That's true, I guess.
So that's probably why he's focused on money. He's bred to carry the barrel.
It's like bubbles coming out of that barrel. I don't know what that is, but yeah.
Maybe it's from the soapy Bubble Lakeside.
Oh, there you go. We are uncovering.
he is a fabled beast in yellow, so it's thematic.
Uncovering lore. I like the art though.
Yeah, I love the art. It's really cool. What about you, Harry? Do you like this card at all? Or?
You know, it's not great. I think everything that's good about it is kind of by accident in terms of it being a Fable Beast, and sometimes you just need more Fable Beasts. There technically is some use to its effect, so for that reason I'd give it a 2 out of 10 rather than a 1.
Yeah, I was going to say it's probably going, like, I'm a bit biased, but...
Counter Curse or Magic Mirror are more like 1 1-star type of cards. This is like maybe, you know, just to flex on someone, you show up to locals with your Manaka dog in him deck and do the combo, but no, it's really bad. The worst card yet.
Yeah, that's fair. What about you, Kieran?
Oh, it just sucks, man. Like, like if you're playing an Aegis general deck, you probably want a good early drop unit to actually help you survive. If you play this guy down, you're not surviving. He ain't helping you for nothing. I'm
gonna preview.
He's got a combo with He's got a combo with Manaka, but that's like an 8-core investment if you're playing some off-color random deck, and you're killing one guy. If they throw down Enterprise, your dog can't even select any of their units to turn in. Oh no, actually no. Enterprise you can still select. Just Manaka can't do anything. So
yeah. Very important. If it were the other way around, it might be okay. But no.
I actually had a bit of hope there for a second, but no.
You guys definitely right. It's there's nothing to this card really. It's 2 out of 10 at most.
Yeah, 2 out of 10. Yeah.
All right, so we'll move on to the next one. Poor dog. All right, so the next card, Ice Aegis General AL Belt 07. A very Japanese, long-winded name. Level 2, during either attack step, armor red, purple, white for all your Imperator and Aegis General spirits. I'll give that a solid 1. Anyone else?
I love theme decks.
1-star, baby.
Like, I love theme decks where you can build something together like an archetype. This is like one of the very few payoffs, and it just sucks.
So bad.
I actually put it in a deck earlier, and then I immediately took it out. I was like, what am I thinking?
You realized it's only Imperator and Aegis.
No, I knew it was, but I don't know why. I wanted to try and use some of the new cards, but no.
Only during the attack step is so bad.
During the attack step as well, yeah. I mean,
additional armor. When is like what? Armor's just armor most of the time. Things have armor or they don't. Not, sometimes you do. What's going on?
I feel like the
And,
artwork's kind of not even good.
Clapped by Floodstream. For 4 cores, they could have given it armor blue as well, and it would have been like, oh, okay, maybe there's a use for it. No. It still gets clapped by Floodstream. It's so bad. 1 star.
When we had the reveal season happening, I remember this is one of the cards that like you couldn't see the full effect when it got revealed at the expo, I think Comic-Con or something, or whatever it was. And because it was like the armor was cut off, we could see they had like armor red, purple, white, but we couldn't see if there was anything after that. And we were like, well, if it has red, purple, white, blue, green, yellow, even then it's still probably not going to be good because of how niche it is. And then we saw the actual card and that was it.
Yeah,
it
just
has
awful.
A weird
really.
niche. I'll give it a 1.1 because a 1-star card is just really bad.
It's worse than the dog. That's all they need. He said
it really is. It's worse than the dog. All right, well, we'll move on
This is the only white
from
card
there.
in the entire lore set, by the way. So if you're a white player, you didn't get nothing out of this.
Yeah, that's
directly.
true. Although this card, the next card, can be played in white to good effect, and probably the best card, arguably, in this set. There's 2 really good cards, but I'd say this is one of the top 2. This is Wind Aegis General Tokiwa, and it's another Aegis General / Prey Bird. This is the great effect, which is kind of spicy. During your opponent's end step, at the start of the step, if you have fewer cards in your hand than your opponent has in theirs, you may pay the Soul Core to return this card from the trash to your hand. And then at level 2 and 3, with 3 and 5 cores, you have Gale 2, which if you don't know, Gale is when the spirit is blocked, your opponent selects the specified number of refreshed spirits they control and exhaust them. So pretty amazing, really. I mean, considering how cheap the card is, that's basically a beam rifle on swing if your opponent doesn't want to take the damage or doesn't have a spell to get rid. So I honestly, I think it's an amazing card. I think it has incredible synergy with Volcanic Canyon. I think it can be used to great effect in actual green decks as well. I've played against it a few times, and it is very annoying. It's obviously extremely sticky. It works very well in decks that don't have inherent draws. So when you're playing against purple and playing against red decks, it's got some weight, and it will help balance out your lack of card size. Yeah, I mean, I can't really fault the card. I think that the price it costs to play it is very good, and the effects are really good as well. What about you, Kieran? Have you thought about this card much?
Yeah, I mean, when we first saw it, it was clearly the best card out of the entire lore set. I mean, it's basically Sinister Serpent from Yu-Gi-Oh! In a more balanced way. I like how they're using the Soul Core to balance out very strong effects, so it's really awesome. Every single time we get one of these kind of Soul Core effects, it just makes the game really interesting from a resource point of view and management. This card's amazing. Like as you said, it's a really good discard outlet, and I mean we're about to get Strong Draw from set 3 where you draw 3, discard 2. Again, that's another discard outlet for this kind of card.
Yeah, I mean Strong Draw is going to be a meta call for most decks, really. That kind of filter is
in theory. Again, you could when this isn't ever a set 3 review anyway, but 3 costs is and also the fact it's got Gale, and Gale gets its own support in set 3. This is a card that's already good, but in set 3 it just gets even better. Like, I mean, like this is like a 9 out of 10 kind of 10 out of 10 S card, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think it could. I don't think it's necessarily meta defining, but I think it definitely has a place on the on the high tables, and I'll be interested to see how it's utilized at Pro Tour, if at all. What about you, Harry? Have you thought about this card in testing, like playing against it as well as playing with it?
Yeah, it's pretty common. I think it's probably the most accessible card in the set in terms of just being able to put it into a lot of decks. It's very versatile in that respect, and it's a pretty good card. I will say that it is still a 5 mana creature outside of green. Like that is quite a lot. So while Gale 3 is good, I think it is quite well balanced in terms of obviously Gale 2. it has a generic effect where you can re-add it, and so the fact that it's 5k on 3 cores and stuff like that, it's dealable with, but a lot of decks will find space for it. It's got a lot of synergies with other things. Obviously, it's got synergies with Volcanic Canyon in red. It's an immortal target in purple. It's just got a lot of overlapping synergies with
yeah,
with a bunch of
100%
pre-existing
with
decks right now.
Beldegor, it's a great pair with that. I'll agree with you as well. I think it is an expensive card to play, but the best effect is the drawing opponent's end step effect. You know, the fact that you can potentially in low sort of hand sized decks, you can use this to draw 2 a turn with Volcanic Canyon, for example. That kind of potential is really interesting. I think you'll agree with me that having effects that you can utilize your trash really adds a new dynamic to strategy and gameplay, and I think it's definitely something that needs to be utilized more. Obviously Beldegor, everyone knows how good that card is, and this, like you said, this has really good synergy with it, so
it is quite directly comparable to Beldegor, I think, as well, in terms of the sort of general power level that it occupies. Like, I would give it a sort of 8 out of 10, similar to Beldegor in that, like, it's a 4-star card that will have 6-star games against some things, but then 2-star games against other things. Like, Beldegor is in some matchups really well positioned right now, and is also incredibly generic to where you can run it outside of its color. You can run it in white, you can run it in red if you so want. You probably wouldn't, but you can. And I think Tokiwa occupies a kind of similar spot where it's like, yeah, you might squidge in some room for it if what it's offering is what you want. It is generic enough in that sense, but like Beldegor, it has flaws enough to where a lot of the time you would just run cards within your own color. There isn't necessarily any need for it, but it is a presence and is a good card in general. Like, a lot of decks will run it.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Emmy? You've actually used this recently for a win at locals. Talk us through how you utilized it.
Yeah, nothing to add in the general sense. I think like you guys covered it as a great card. From a direct limited experience, I love this card. I love to play it, and every time you see it, it's great. I play I just pull up the deck list, green purple list. I sent it to you, Josh.
Oh yeah.
Where leading with Nemesis, and obviously you play Rotting Swamp. The new Nexus also offer discard option. It's just great. The discount is awesome. So if you have some green on the board, it costs as low as 2. Realistically, you need only 3 cores. That level 3 is not that relevant for the extra BP. You don't really care if it dies. You just care if you can swing and take a life. Or
yeah, I mean, if people are using resources to get it into your trash, then by all means, you're just like, okay, well, I'll pull it back at the end of your turn. That's fine.
Yeah. No, it's great, and there's so many more uses that I'm sure we can think about going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually built a white deck around this card, and I've only played a few matches. I was playing against a conventional white Derm Diner deck, and honestly, running kind of a white-green tempo sort of build with this card, it seemed very effective. So I am excited to explore it more. And yeah, I think overall, I mean, giving it its rating, we had a 9 from Kieran and an 8 from Harry. What would you give it, Emmy?
I think I'll just sit in the middle, 8.5. It's a great card. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, for me,
Yes.
I'm gonna just level it out and say at 8, but mainly because I think there's more exploration to be done, and there could be, it could actually go up to a 10 if people find some combos that are game breaking, because there is potential with it with the effect. So, but yeah, we'll get moving on.
In the Gale deck, next set is really good as well.
Oh yeah, obviously in the Gale,
powerful in that deck.
Yeah, in a Gale archetype, it's going to be extremely strong for sure. All right, so moving on from strong to the first ever blue card, Revolutionary Zeyon, Beast Folk, 9 cost, 4 reduction. When attacking with 4 cores at level 2, you may select a spirit card from your trash and place it. Now,
a Nexus card.
Yes, and unfortunately, placing it doesn't mean you get it for free. So you have to pay the cost on top of that. Because if it was free, it would say place it without paying its cost. So I don't have much to say about this card. I love the artwork. It's like a Star Wars samurai. I don't know what it is. It's awesome, and I love the way the blue fits in with the gold. Blue and gold is a really lovely combination on playing cards. So, but the card's garbage. It's a 1 out of 10 for me. So I'll go straight to Emmy, and he can maybe be a bit more forgiving.
I just want to commend Ken Nagasaki, the artist, because it's so cool. I kind of just want a show out of this character, to be honest. And the art is amazing because he's shooting, is drawing the sword. There's like waves breaking in the back, like everything is happening.
He looks like he could be Pegasion's dad. Could be wrong.
Sure. I'm sure
he's got that same look.
Yeah, for sure. We can make a show ourselves about Zeyon and Pegasion. Oh shoot, you might be on something actually.
Yeah. They both got Yon in their name. Yeah. Maybe Zeyon's wife is a Pegasus. And that's
we're going off a crazy tangent here.
I'm just trying to make this card more interesting, alright? It's not very good, so
yeah. Leave a comment. Tell us what you think about this idea, and if Josh is right.
Yeah, they're not scared to explore that stuff. They had Dino Man, and so
that's true. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I think the card is not great, even in blue. I was trying to fish in set 3, obviously with blue coming soon. There is a card that just returns a Nexus to your hand, and it costs 3 with 2 reduction, and arguably is almost better than placing it, because placing it requires you to pay for it. You might not have the cores, and
especially if you're paying 5 to play this guy, and then putting 4 cores on him to activate the effect. He's a spendy boy.
I feel like they just design it so you don't play it somehow. Like 9 costs, 4 reduction, like one core for 5k and 4 cores for 9k. It's just like, it
was probably originally a 5 cost, and they were like, nah, we better bump that up to a 9 cost.
Yeah, I think they were just like, I dare you playing this. Go on.
What do you think, Harry? What do you think of this Beast Folk?
I think nothing of this, and nor should you. 1 star, move on.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Kieran, are you? Is meeting adjourned on this card? Are you a 1 star as well, or do you see potential here?
0 star. I hate that cards like this.
Wait. So this is worse than Ice Aegis.
Yeah, it doesn't even fit into any kind of arc. If blue had a bit more, blue's Nexus are just too cheap as well. Like, you don't need this guy. I hate how this guy, the Ice Aegis guy, these cards are taking up really cool slots of cards that could be awesome. So
yeah, that's a fair comment. Yeah, so
disappointing blue card.
We'll just say 1 out of 10 on old Zeyon. But moving on, we're actually done with the spirits now, and we're going to go with the first Nexus, Victory Oath. As you can see, there's it looks like a dead Void Lord, and it's got Manaka and Kay sort of celebrating in front of it, I guess, or high-fiving with their weapons. Very cool artwork. Interesting effects as well. We'll go through those. So it's a red Red Nexus, 5 cost 3 reduction. Level 1 and 2 when placed. Your opponent and you each draw 2 cards, which is an interesting effect, I guess. Not the greatest. It's a bit of a risk. And then level 2, during your attack step, when one of your spirits destroys one of your opponent's spirits with 3k BP or fewer in battle, you may refresh it. So that's actually quite interesting, because if people are spamming small blockers, you know, this is a good answer to it. You know, you just re-standing through those. So what do you think, Harry? You like the look of this card, or?
It's not the worst, you know. Like obviously you look at it and you're like, but I think people who've played other games know how valuable an effect like this can be in particular strategies. It's very reminiscent of Cold Light Oracle from Hearthstone. Obviously Hearthstone has a hand size limit, which isn't the case in this game, but certainly in any game where mill is a strategy, it's quite viable. Sometimes just the scarcity of card draw might lend itself towards that. Obviously red is very abundant in terms of card draw, to where you're probably not running this in red, but you know, you get control mirror match formats sometimes where like you side Dream Blizzard to stop yourself from decking out. So it is conceivable. Also, this can combo with Dream Blizzard in a really cute way where you just continually bounce it and keep casting it to make them draw. So it's cute. It definitely has options to where it isn't as bad as the worst cards we've discussed, but in general, I think just the fact that it is a 5-cost Nexus, that doesn't, I mean, it draws them 2 cards, probably puts it at like a sort of 4 out of 10-ish spot for me, where it does have good use case sometimes, particularly next set when all the mill stuff comes out. It helps because blue is quite you know, lacking in terms of independent card draw. You probably run Starblast Draw, so you could easily run this just to discount Starblast Draw as well. Gives you more options, gets them closer to decking out. But that aside, I don't really think that it's the best option for what it is right now.
Yeah, fair enough. Very good insight. Kieran, what do you think of this card? Do you have any use for it, or?
Preset 3. If you're going to the Pro Tour, I don't know why you're even looking at this card. If you're playing green, just do the whole Volcanic Canyon Tokiwa combo. Post set 3, obviously there's a lot of really cool implications, but we're not here to talk about set 3. So as it stands, useless card, but still pick up your 4 copies because, you know, stuff. Set 3.
Absolutely, yeah. And Emmy, you got any thoughts on Victory Oath?
Not much to add. Like, I think +1 when you give +2 to your opponent in like 50 plus card deck is not great. It's not Hearthstone, right, with 30 cards where you can do the rogue combo and let them draw their deck. Obviously we have blue for the mill. Yeah, no further comments on that. I think for now I'll give it just a 5 maybe.
Okay, so we're sitting at a 4 here with this card, really. 2 more cards. We're going to move on. Another Nexus. This is the Imperator's Great War. So it's a green Nexus with 4 cost 2 reduction. And during your attack step, when one of your Imperator or Aegis General spirits destroys one of your opponent's spirits in battle, you may exhaust this Nexus to place a core from the void onto this Nexus. So that's a pretty good effect. And then the second effect is basically Scorched Battlefield Light. During your attack step, when one of your spirits reduces your opponent's life, you may discard a card to draw a card. And I guess that works with the synergy if you're trying to play Tokiwa or Beldegor or like other targets from the trash, like we were saying. But yeah, reality, I mean, this definitely has uses. I think it's very mid though. I think this game you want to be going +1 on draws. So in reality, I'd probably play Scorched Battlefield over this. Just being honest. But what do you think, Emmy? You've actually used it in the deck, so you'd be a better judge.
Yeah, I can report some experience on it. I like it. I'll start with I like it, but maybe is that bias based on the fact that all other green Nexuses so far are not that great. And the problem is there is a catch on both effects. Like both effects are okayish, but there's a catch on both. So obviously the first effect is limited to the Aegis, but it's fine. I mean, like it just goes with the Tokiwa. It's okay. The big catch to me is that the core goes onto the Nexus. So like if you're playing a Swift creatures, like you can't use it. And I kind of realized when I was playing it, I was like, I defaulted in thinking it would go in reserve. Obviously, you can do cute things like leave a core on it, and then when you attack with Tokiwa, they either, block, and if you destroy, obviously, if you can destroy, then you get the core, or you put the 2 cores. And then the catch on level 2 is that you need to discard before you draw. Like, I think that's actually quite detrimental, because if it was draw a card, discard a card, you have that extra opportunity to draw a card that can be cycled, or maybe another Tokiwa. But yeah, the fact that you need to discard before drawing is not great.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's like an almost card for me. I don't know. Kieran, what do you think? You think this card's got any use at all, or?
I've said many times I like really thematic decks, and if you're playing an Imperator or Aegis General deck, I guess this makes its way in. But the honest truth is, it's super niche. I mean, don't forget, if there's only 3 Aegis Generals, and one of them is the dog, which ain't gonna kill anything. One of them is that really crappy machine beast.
You say that it won't kill anything, but there is a very good card, the last card we're going to check, which makes it.
You're right in that regards. But I think overall this card is fine. It's not the worst card. As Emmy said, the green Nexuses are just that poor at the moment that this card is kind of the best of a bad bunch.
Yeah, and I can see that. And Harry, you got any thoughts on this thing?
I don't have any good thoughts on it, unfortunately. You described it as Scorched Battlefield Light. It's actually Volcanic Canyon Light, which is really weird considering that you can just run Volcanic Canyon. Like, Volcanic Canyon doesn't need any cores on it to do more or less the exact same thing, except you don't have to deal them damage, and you can just play Scorched if you want an effect when you deal damage. And yeah, obviously, if the Imperator Aegis stuff was a bit better in terms of the archetype, then yeah, I mean, ramp when you run something over isn't too bad. I think there's a green Nexus anyway that has that level 1 effect, right? It's like a 4-cost Nexus in set 2. That's like when one of your spirits runs something over by battle, ramp 1 or something like that, if I'm not mistaken.
I can't remember, to be honest, but it just seems like
really
it's
bad.
Yeah, it's not a good Nexus, really. But yeah, so we'll give it. I'll give this card a 2 out of 10 probably. I don't see. It's just not usable over other cards, to be quite honest. But maybe if the core went to your reserve, then maybe it might have potential.
Wait, you give it a 2 out of 10?
Yeah, 2.
That's sad.
I think it's a 4 personally. Yeah, 4 5.
I give it a 4 as well. A 5 actually.
So it gets a 4 out of 10 then in that case. And yeah, so we're on to the last card, which for me, I think it's the best card next to Tokiwa. Godslaying. Very, very fun card. I play yellow and I've had a lot of fun. This card's kind of like gives you an extra 20% chance of winning against red decks, which is really great. I've had a lot of fun killing Giganos with Pentans and stuff like that using this card. I feel like it's something that can be potentially used splashed. I mean, it's not maybe not really that necessary, but in yellow it really is, especially if you're playing like weenie 2 costs. This thing's just absolutely amazing. The burst effect I'm not too keen on. I think it's more of a card that I use from hand strictly. I don't think I would ever burst this thing. But yeah, no, the artwork also is amazing, and the card in person, it's just stunning. I think I've got a copy of it close by. It's just one of the best looking cards I've seen in the game. Yeah, here you go. Here's a ultra close up.
It's really nice.
Yeah, and as you can see, it's the embossed foiling. It's just a really great card, and I think it will be one of the keys to unlocking Yellow's potential. Yellow's still a bit DOA though, I think, personally, even though I love it.
We put like a coping meme. Like,
yeah, it's definitely copium. This is everything I'm saying is. What about you, Harry? We've discussed this card and messed around with it. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a very interesting card. I think strangely, and maybe it's just the nature of yellow and where it's positioned at the moment, I think it's an 8 out of 10 yellow card, but probably like a 6 out of 10 card overall in terms of it is good. And I think me ranking it that highly, despite how easily disrupted it is, speaks to the potency of the effect. It is a very powerful effect if it goes off, and is really difficult to play around. And again, like, giving it that higher rating for yellow isn't just because yellow is quite underpowered as color overall. It's also because it synergizes really well with the stuff that yellow's doing. The 2-drop rush stuff, you know, like things like Angelic Pressure and Drowsy Fumes aren't enough to really get into any genuine stat territories that make the rush 2-drop stuff any better. But Godslaying immediately is like, oh, okay, well, you block with anything relevant and it's dead immediately. Tin Soldiers is one of the best cards in yellow, and it's just like, well, you instantly win the fight against anything.
Yeah.
So all of that stuff is really good, and even against matchups where it might not necessarily be good, like you said you wouldn't burst it. Say against aggro white, you probably do burst it just because they Valkyrie misbow something. You flip the burst, it's like, okay, none of your 2-drops or less can attack this turn. That might save your life against aggro white,
no.
I mean, a matchup in which you wouldn't think that Godslaying with the creature during the same flash step, then Godslaying just whiffs. So like Dream Bomb, for example, you know, and white is probably one of the matchups in which you would really want it to just clap an Enterprise. You know, you Godslaying thinking you're sick, and then they just Dream Bomb or Avalanche the thing back to your hand, and it's like, okay, the Godslaying didn't quite go off.
Absolutely, against white aggro, this card would be incredible. It's like it's almost as strong as Ice Shield in that situation, really.
It's a good check to Valkyrie Mist. For the time that they drop it, it's pretty good.
For sure. What about you, Emmy? What do you think of Godslaying?
Yeah, it's the first card with an errata. First Battle Spirits card with an errata. They forgot to...
The first spell that deals damage.
The first good yellow card. That's something wrong. No, they left the yellow symbol on the bottom right.
Yeah.
So they issued an apology, say, hey, don't mind this. It doesn't count as a
the version on screen actually doesn't have the
oh yeah, of course,
the spot. But yeah, no, that is as I can confirm. Yeah, there you go. There's a little spot there. I for one will be allowing yellow players to take a damage when they play it. Just as a judge, it's my, you know, I've got to help balance the scales. No, of course. Yeah. I mean, I don't know how you'd even implement it. It's just a print mistake, really, isn't it? Design mistake.
But no, I haven't played against it. I haven't used it. I don't have much to comment on top of what you were saying. I think it's a great yellow tool for yellow. It's 1 cost with a Penton is free. I think it's gonna it's gonna be played.
It genuinely won me a locals. I was playing against a green sort of control deck, and they were using a lot of the 8 costs like the Rooster and stuff like that to basically just rest down your board. And yeah, I just being able to kill it with Caladrius was, you know, feels so good using Caladrius as well. That's the best card to use it with, because obviously you can get it back at the end of turn as well, and people will often block your your luster spirits if they're over them. So it's very good bait. But yeah, Kieran, what do you think? Do you like this card or?
Yeah, I love this card. This card existing just changes the way you have to think about combat sometimes. I've been exploring this card's utility a bit outside of yellow. So for example, in Meduc Curse, they try and like swing underneath your Meduc. You can play Godslaying and make them win the battle, and then your Meduc Blood Curse and stuff can still proc.
Yeah.
If you're playing white and you block with the elephant, you can play Godslaying, and then they beat your battle. They kill your elephant, even if they're trying to swing under it. So it's really interesting with those. Again, it is a very costly spell to play in those colors. 4 is not cheap in any regards, but it's just a fun card, I think.
You can definitely turn the tide in situations where people aren't expecting it. So, yeah, I think it's a good one.
That's where it's stronger.
But yeah, I mean,
I'd 7.
I'm biased on it. So you're 7, Kieran. Harry, you said 8 in yellow, so I'll take that. 6. What about you, Emmy? What would you say?
6 overall, though.
Yeah, that's
general.
fine.
I'll be a diplomat again. I'll give it a 7.
7. I'm going to say 8 because I love it. So we'll just round up and say 8. That's fine. But yeah. So going through the cards, we'll do a little list before we finish up here. Number 1 card, obviously Tokiwa. It definitely wins the day. Very strong. And yeah, I just think it's the best card in the set. I'm gonna make them smaller so they all fit on the screen.
And it's still only €2 on Card Market.
Yeah, it's so cheap. Second place would be Godslaying, I guess. I think that's a fair one. So Godslaying in second, and then next up, what would you say? I mean, most of them we didn't really think much of.
Yeah.
I think after those 2 cards, it goes like okay tier and then just fucking white card tier.
Yeah.
Awful tier.
Yeah.
So I guess third place, is K, like you said.
Yeah, I think K is a slight notch above everything else beneath it, where it's like K is a playable card that you could build a deck around. It's just probably a bit too high maintenance, whereas the stuff underneath it is kind of like Victory Oath. I love Victory Oath. I'll be building Dream Blizzard Victory Oath all day, but that is like super niche. Manaka's quite super niche as well.
Yeah, Victory Oath and Manaka probably fall next in line, I'd say. And then the other cards, the rest don't really have much to talk about, do we? Like,
I think the Lord Dragon is slightly above things like the dog and the mech, just because it does have that possible burn. I know it's super niche, but
we do have space on the screen for that one, so we'll put that there, and then the others won't make the cut, sadly.
No, I think they are pretty much all bottom tier at that point. Maybe the Nexus being the best of the bad bunch, but
yeah. So I mean, overall though, what are your thoughts, guys? Let's have a few minutes of thoughts. What do you think? Do you think the set's worth buying? I mean, we got 6 cards here that are usable out of 10, which I think is pretty good, especially considering you're getting 2 per box. I think Bandai, they only had 1 card for the play sets in the previous expansion. So the fact that they've gone 2 of each card shows that they're listening to the customers. But yeah, no, I think overall it's a really good purchase, and I'd definitely say buy 2 boxes. You might get lucky like Emmy and draw a very, very nice SPR. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you get packs with it is a nice plus. So yeah, what about you, Emmy? How do you feel about it? Obviously you pulled the nuts in your pack.
Yeah.
But
yeah, as I said, I think it's really good. Also, let's not forget the fact that there is obviously a competitive component that I think we are more kind of in tune with. So from that perspective, you can see it as maybe there's like 2-3 cards, but from a product perspective, from like a overall game fun, I love it. It's such good looking cards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for more. Like the lore stuff's really awesome. So, what about you, Harry? What are your final thoughts on the product overall?
I mean, I think it depends from the point of view, I guess. Like, obviously, we're all grown men. We can buy a pack of cards if we want to.
Yeah,
but in terms of overall value, I think as a general consumer, you're probably just better off buying the singles, unless you're into the sort of lore and the collector's aspect of it. And I guess from maybe the consumer point of view commenting on it, I think as we just saw there, we evaluated all the cards and it was very spread out in terms of the quality of the cards in the set. I like the least a type of mini set type thing where there's one card that's really good and then 2 or 3 that are completely unplayable and then a few that are kind of okay. I think I would rather everything be quite good. So say with the Elemental Spark where, yeah, the Radiant spells haven't seen much play, but they are good cards in terms of their design and what they're doing, and they do have a place. It's just no one's running them at the moment, nor should they be necessarily, but they are unique cards with unique effects. And similarly with the 0 drops where they're all pretty good for what they are. Smag is a decent card for what it is. Like, there was much more of an even sort of playing field, I guess, in that set compared to this one where there are just a couple cards where, like, why would you buy the set when you can just buy the good cards individually?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I agree. I agree with you that Elemental Spark actually had a bit more weight as far as playability, and the fact that it was an even keel for each color. I think that's actually a very smart way to do things. This does seem a bit more fun, a bit more that they're trying to generate interest in the battle spirits world, you know. So yeah, I think
it's more flavorful but less valuable. I think
that's fair. What about you, Kieran? What do you think?
I think first of all, you're better off buying singles, as Harry said. But obviously, do be sure to pick up product from your local game store first. Support the scenes. Obviously, if you're an EU watcher, Card Market literally launched last week, which is huge for the EU market. It's so you can actually finally get products, so I get singles for reasonably good prices. The best card in here is Tokiwa, and that's up there for €2 right now. So go and get it. From a product point of view, I think my only complaint, and I've had this again, I've said this twice or 3 times during this. I love thematic decks, but the Void Lords in set 2. It wasn't really a deck. I know there was a really gimmicky, memey self-mill deck, but that's not a Void Lord deck. That's just a cope deck. And kind of here as well, they've tried to push this new Aegis General Imperator thing, but they also didn't support it a single card in set 3. I don't know what's with this kind of releasing 4 cards to maybe build a new deck and then just giving up on it. Maybe in set 4, Void Lords and Imperator, Aegis Generals can come together, but I kind of just want to not see half-baked things like this done in the future.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. So I mean, overall, between us, it's kind of like an average product. I think me and Emmy probably maybe we're more into the collector's side and the lore side of things, so we're a bit more receptive to the product overall. But yeah, generally, the general consensus is if you like the lore stuff, and you want the cards maybe for the future, buy the sets. They're around £20, between 20 and 30 depending on your retailer. And as Harry and Kieran says, you can get the singles from Card Market and other vendors. So definitely pick your poison, I guess, with the way you want it. But overall, I think it's a fun product. I think it shows a level of care, and it shows that Bandai are enthusiastic about their own kind of product here, and they're trying to generate interest and get people more into it than just playing a competitive card game. So I think it's a positive thing for sure. But yeah, so we're basically done now, guys. We'll do our weekly question time on the round. If one person wants to ask everyone a question, and we'll go through and quickly answer that. And I'm gonna give it to Kieran today. What do you want to ask the three of us?
I'm going to ask a really thematical question. Well, actually, Card Market launched literally last week, so I'd be very curious to know if any of you guys have kind of picked anything up from there. Myself, I've picked up only one card. I picked up a £10 SPR Thorn Prison. I really like the SPR pattern with the demo bones getting destroyed by the vine, so I had to pop that, but I'd be very interested if you guys got any.
So me personally, I haven't actually purchased a card yet. I've been keeping an eye on it because I feel like the market's a bit volatile at the moment because people are just making up their own prices. So I didn't want to put anything up for sale or jump in there. But no, it's interesting to see what people are valuing the cards at, and it seems quite reasonable. Ice Shields are floating at around £10, I think, for non-holos. Maybe slightly less.
Even less now. They're like €7 now.
Yeah. So that in itself is fantastic. That's a card that everyone needs. So that's something that's off-putting, obviously, to new players. If you're like, you can join the game, but you have to spend £70-80 on a play set of one card that may not even be the color you're playing. That's an off-putting prospect in itself. So the fact that it's made stuff more accessible, fantastic. What about you, Emmy? Have you had a look?
Yeah, I have it up now. I've kept an eye on. Kind of wanted to get some of the cards that I don't own. There's also like Ice Shield that went out to influencers, and I was like hoping that one would make its way there or a few. So I'm like hunting for like maybe like some cards that I'm missing. There's not many. But I guess like with set 3 it's gonna bring a lot of good surprises. Yeah, I'm definitely happy if it drives more economy in the game and more people like pick up stuff that they want to try at reasonable prices. But yeah, we'll see. I haven't picked up anything so far.
What about you, Harry? Have you had a look at Card Market? You interested?
I did not know that EU Card Market is now a thing.
Yeah, it's literally just this week. Actually, it's very, very fresh. So, or just the end of last week. So.
Yeah.
No, it's definitely good news. I'll have a gander, but yeah, I think it's good to give market value consistency between the cards that are available. So
accessibility is very important as well.
Yeah,
like a lot of for set 1 and stuff, a lot of cards. I mean it's banned now, but Axpire was really inaccessible for a lot of people. Yeah. So having the market open up where a lot of vendors and shops, they'll open the promo kits to sell the cards. It just allows people that don't have a local scene to get the cards they want to play. So I think it's a positive overall for everyone in the European community.
And if you're like Harry and you whipped up one of your Axe Spiders last week, you can buy an Axe Spider for €2 on Card Market.
Yeah, €2. Yeah, I mean that's still quite expensive for a banned card, to be fair. Yeah. But yeah, so that's all we got time for this week, guys. So yeah, thanks a lot, and thanks for everyone who tuned in. Please subscribe, give us a comment, spread the word if you like what we do, and we'll continue doing it for you all. So yeah, thanks Harry, thanks Kieran, thanks Emmy, and we'll see you all next week, guys.
Peace out.
Bye.